Welcome back to the Decode Podcast booth here at Apex Expo 2026. We are rounding up day 2, and we're joined by Dr. Eric Bruner from Aculon. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. We have some pretty contemporary workings that we've been collaborating on, specifically a novel stencil coating called Nano Pearl. And I say novel, and I think it truly is, because it accomplishes something that other coatings haven't to this point. We've been using Nano Clear for quite some time. It's fantastic coating. But one of the things about Nano Clear is that it doesn't have
it's clear.
A visual signature, right? Yeah. So many people in the market say, hey, I paid money for this. I want to see it, right? So
I remember one time I called them up and I said, how do I know you just didn't spray this thing with Rain-X? You know what I'm saying? That's a good point.
He did. So working with Dr. Bruner and the fabulous team over at Aculon, it's like, hey, how do we get a coating that's truly on the nanoscale that you can see?
Yeah, how do you add pigment to it in some way without affecting its thickness, right?
So, Dr. Bruner, can you tell us why that was a challenge and maybe how Nano Pearl came to fruition and why it is able to be seen but also stay on the nanoscale?
Yeah. So Nano Clear is a coating that forms, one molecule thick. It's typically 2 to 5 nanometers thick, and to try to incorporate some sort of dye or pigment into such a thin layer is not possible. Even with the most fluorescent compounds we could get our hands on, there's just not enough of a thickness to have a color impact. And so, one of the challenges, like you said, is, how do you know it's there? And there's also, that comes up not just when you coat a stencil, but when it's in production, and you want to do some inspection that the coating's still there after a certain number of print cycles. And so we had actually developed a coating to affect the kind of light transmission reflection off of aluminum for another application, really geared towards hiding fingerprints. And so what we did there is we developed a coating that would change the index of refraction to kind of match fingerprint oils. And so you essentially mimic a fingerprint oil by putting this down. And one of the things that was really great about that coating is it had a very high hardness. It had a hardness of 8, very durable. When we were posed this challenge of, okay, what's next? What do we do for the stencil world? I thought, okay, maybe we should turn our attention to that coating. And that coating doesn't actually have any repellency. So we thought, okay, well, let's take a 2-step approach. Let's use this really high hardness coating that changes the index of refraction, because you can actually, it doesn't have a pigment in it, but you can actually see it because it changes the way the way the light interacts with the surface. And so it's typically somewhere in the ballpark of 100 to 200 nanometers thick, and it has enough of a variation where you kind of see this on a pearlescent kind of view. So we said, it's kind of like a pearl-like color. So it's almost like a little bit of a rainbow effect on the surface, and you can see it. And so we went to work to start trading some stencils with that, plus develop a second coating that's applied on top of it to provide really good oil repellency, which is something Aculon's done for quite some time. We've developed compounds that are great at oil repellency and hence flux repellency. And we were thrilled to work with Metal Etch and do some initial trials and get their feedback and start kind of kicking off this work.
It's so impressive to me what you're able to do, because how you think about the wear and tear that a stencil goes through. In its use, you have friction caused by, squeegee blades screaming across on one side and under stencil cleaners on the other side. So you have this constant friction being created. And then when they're done for the day, then they get thrown, at least mine do, into an ultrasonic cleaner with with chemistry that's going to eat away. Like,
He was like,
Like you were suggesting that he didn't clean his
I
stencils
owned one
ultrasonically.
before you.
So anyway, the point is that you have to make this coating that is somehow that thin and holds up to all the abuse it's going to see in its lifetime. And it's just, it's incredible.
Yeah,
No question, just amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's kind of what we face being a surface coatings company. That's, we're always trying to look at, chemical resistance, durability resistance. We also really try to work with systems that are relatively easy to use. We don't typically get involved with complicated equipment that requires a lot of capital expenditure, that you have to, have vacuum and lots of complicated depositions. Everything we do is solution phase, and so we work hard on figuring out kind of the core chemistry to get, high performance in terms of repellency, durability, chemical resistance, and then generally we're in this sort of nano space where we want to be really thin, and where it's important to be thin, and this is a nice application for that because it's important that the repellency coating is thin and doesn't affect the aperture dimensions and really goes down thin.
I might have missed if you've said this already. Does it get applied to the stencil the same way that the Nano Clear does? Is it the same kind of a tube?
No, this
process?
it's a liquid applied coating. Really kind of the standard way of applying is through spray.
Okay.
And so there's a spray that first the stencil's cleaned like normal, and then you apply a spray, you do a cure, and then you do a second spray. You can do the second one sometimes as a wipe, but it's also comes in a spray, so it's relatively easy to apply. And then there's a last but not least another cure. And so it's a little more complicated than the Nano Clear product, but it does have the advantages of having an appearance, being highly durable, and then the initial data we've been collecting on paste transfer, it's been excellent, and
I think that's one of the really great things is that they made this product, worked on it in-house, but then have gone and sought out those in the industry, and many of them who are friends of ours, to actually run it through its paces and prove its worth with data rather than just marketing.
Nothing's a better test than the actual environment it's going to be used in, right?
And to the appearance, when I try to describe it to people, I like to use this analogy because I think it just nails it. You're washing your car, you're washing dishes, and the little soap bubble pops up, right? And you see that kind of pearlescent rainbow type view. Yeah. That's what it looks like.
That's a good description, yeah, having seen it.
Have you tested it to see when it ends up fading off? Have you seen that result yet?
No, we haven't. We've seen we have abrasions, linear abrasure equipment at Aculon, and we ran it out to 100,000 cycles without seeing any degradation, and we just stopped there.
What about stencil washing? I feel like that would be the harshest environment for it.
So we've done some. We've looked at some of the common stencil cleaners and done some heated immersion, and it's been really, really stable in terms of chemical cleaners. And I think we'll be developing a list of the best possible cleaners where we don't see any long-term degradation.
He told me a trick too, to put a Sharpie on there, and then
or I can sell you a dine pen, and that's the right way to do it.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
But anecdotally, we've had some field use or field data returned back, and we have a user that's had 50,000 prints, and the stencil
on the same stencil.
Yes, and
Wow.
the stencil itself was out of its working lifespan, but the coating was still intact and effectual. So it's robust.
So this is a way to buy less stencils from.
No, because you need to get with him on how to make a stencil last longer than 50,000 prints.
You both are convertees into the nano coating world. You use it on every stencil,
every stencil.
Yeah, and then that's one thing.
Every stencil.
It's a rule. You just don't even.
If I don't see NC,
decide.
I send it back.
In an attempt to be agnostic, even though we're obviously partners at Metal Etch with Aculon, study after study after study, it's settled science that a nano-coated stencil always performs better than a non-coated stencil.
And the price increase justifies it, to be honest with you.
Entirely. I mean, think about the money you're saving in cleaning and in
It's the
rework.
worry, right? The worry's gone from my
It's
mind.
cheap insurance.
It is
You're
cheap.
helping increase the chances of a stable process.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it all starts.
I know we talked a lot about stencil coatings, but that's not all Aculon does, right? Talk to us about some of the other relevant coatings to the electronic manufacturing world.
So to the electronics world, I mentioned in the beginning, we have a really nice anti-fingerprint coating, which does a good job of not only making it easier to clean fingerprints off, but also hide the fingerprint. And so we've got that commercialized for a lot of anodized aluminum computer enclosures. We've developed a coating for gold and platinum for a lot of the test pins that are used for testing sockets. And so we have a stamp that can be used to increase the lifetime of test pins. And then we have also some thicker coatings, kind of more on the micron scale, that are used for water protection, called our nanoproof line. And so that's being used for protecting circuitry from complete immersion, so IPX8 level water protection.
I didn't know you guys offered that.
Yeah, we've had that for some time. It's also a liquid applied coating, so it's much easier to apply than the Parylene type of coatings that are done in vacuum.
Dunk the board and it still maintains electrical connectivity when you take pin to pin.
That's correct.
That's the
That's the dream, right?
He's mad at me. I didn't tell him. There was like 3-4 years ago I found a product that did that, and I never told him anything about it. I'm sure I did, but we met you last year. You didn't tell him about it.
And I
so
was sure
there
we
you-
were friends.
Yeah.
I for
So,
sure
you
brought
know,
it up last year because the timing of Apex is always right around St. Patrick's Day, and it brings up a marketing video that Aculon did some years ago where they took an iPhone and they nano-proofed it, and then they took a pint of green beer and submerged the iPhone with the timer running in there, and it was completely functional, and it was a really cool video. I think of it every St. Patrick's Day. I
Did you
always think
drink the
about it.
beer afterwards?
Yeah, we did. We did some drinking afterwards.
Yeah. Just to make sure it was really beer, right? You had to test that part.
Quality control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you next time you guys are out, I'm inviting them on your behalf. But they're not that far away, and their lab is kind of a sight to be seen. So it'd be cool to tag you down
I was
there and you
going
can
to
check
go
it
to it
out.
with you, right? And it didn't quite,
It
the
didn't
timing
quite
just didn't
work
work
out.
out. Next
I've never been invited.
Oh, we'd love to have you. Yeah, we like.
Careful.
Well, if people want to keep up with what's going on at Aculon, what are the best ways for them to get a hold of you or someone in your company that can help with some solutions, and where can they find your offerings?
I mean, probably the best place is our website. We've got contact information there. We've got information about our products and technology. We're also trying to keep our LinkedIn page up and running with new news. But the website's the best, and we've got a responsive team at Aculon that'll get back to you with solutions if we have them.
I can attest to that for sure. So, Dr. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of the show, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.